Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to our first episode of The Lah Project, hosted by me, Han Royani, and my co-host
Kamaro Bahrain.
Okay, but before we start, and since this is our first episode, maybe we wanna introduce ourselves first to our first time audience.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can start first, Kamaro.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have a nickname, by the way?
Yeah, my friends call me BJ, which I know.
What does that stand for? BJ, eh?
Yeah, because my name is Bahrain, and I have in my group of friends, there's like a few of us that's like AJ. There's one of us that's OJ, you know.
Oh, okay.
So I just got the name BJ to make it easier, you know. Like when you're playing futsal, you're not gonna be like Bahrain. You know, it's like, you know, you want things simple, like BJ ball.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So
but I can see that how it can cause confusion, you know. When you mentioned that your name is BJ, people would think, oh, BJ
we're not
is
15
something
anymore, are we? You know, so it's alright. It's alright. I don't really mind it.
All
I mean,
right.
I got it late in life, so it's okay.
Okay.
It's not like I got it in high school, which would have been weird.
That would have been traumatizing if you
a bit,
had it in high school.
but I got it like in my 20s, dude. So
okay.
I was past giving a damn by that point.
Okay, so what's your background, Jay?
Yeah, so I currently I'm mostly a game streamer. I stream games on YouTube, formerly on Twitch, now on YouTube. But other than that, my traditional qualification, I would say, if you could call it that, is that I graduated with second class honours from the University of Nottingham in the year 2020 in majoring in international relations. And I guess that gives me some sort of unique insight into being able to talk about issues like current affairs, international politics, local politics. But, you know, that's basically where my interest and my formal education qualification lies in. Yep.
Okay, as for me, I'm not in the politics or the... what did you study again?
International relations.
International relationships. I didn't study all that. I studied sports science, which is like a way different course altogether. But
also interesting though, I would say.
It is interesting, and perhaps in future we can talk more about that.
Yep.
But the reason why we're doing this is because I think at least for me, in my part, I want to tell Malaysians, or at least people that are interested to know about the world news, especially in English format,
right,
to know more about the world and to give it a non-biased perspective.
Right.
Because sometimes when you watch the news, sometimes it's very biased,
right,
so you don't know who to trust, and we can be that.
Are you talking about CNN or Fox News?
Maybe both.
Both are biased.
Both are super biased.
We'll see.
So okay. So since it's our first episode,
okay, wait. Before we get to that,
okay,
since we're talking about current affairs and politics,
okay,
we have to know your leanings.
My leanings.
Yeah. So I mean, bias is always part of life, I feel like, and although certain news channels get certain stick and heat for being biased, I feel like that's only normal. It's just that you should, especially if you are a purveyor of news, you should at the very least make your biases known.
Okay, sure.
So at least the public that is consuming the news can at the very least decipher it for themselves.
Yeah.
How truthful your opinions are. You know?
And I think it's good that we mentioned this because I think for both of us, I mean, we've known each other for a while, and we know we don't necessarily stay in the same group or same side because we always have our own small debates and stuff like that.
For sure.
So when it comes to my leaning, I can say I am leaning. I can give you an example. It's like my leaning is like my and my is like Joe Biden.
Okay.
It's slightly left-leaning and it's nobody's first choice.
Okay.
Okay, but okay, that was me.
I don't know how I didn't see how I put that as Joe Biden, but okay. I'll flow with it.
No, I used to be a lot more left leaning, but as I grow up, I think you learn to see from different perspectives.
Right,
So
right.
I can see where the left are coming from. I can also see where the right is coming from.
Right.
Not to say that I agree with both of them, but I see where they're coming from.
Right, right.
Yeah. And what about you, Jay? What are you leaning towards?
I think similar. Like when I was younger, when I was in uni especially, I was very much a liberal. I was very left leaning. I was more, I would say, idealistic in a sense. How I always believe that the world should be a certain way, and there's always a way to in a way bring that out, you know. But as I've gotten older, especially since I've left uni, I am quite
Conservative?
middle right leaning in the way that I have more, I wouldn't say conservative, but libertarian leanings.
Okay.
My conservative leanings are simply like things like religion and the right to defend yourself. That's basically as conservative as I get. But I'm not too, you know, I'm not like
You're not like one of those MAGA people.
no. Well, I do like
Trump.
Trump. Yeah, like
Okay.
he's an interesting character.
He's a funny character.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, and based on what he's been able to do, I know he gets a lot of stick, especially in our side of the world.
Yeah.
You know?
No, not even our side. His side of the world. Also
His side of
he
the
gets
world,
a-
yeah, but it's basically 50-50 where he's at. But for us, it's like the most of us don't like him, or at the very least, that's the narrative.
general consensus.
Yeah, that's around. But that being said, that's I would say a different how do you say a different equation altogether, where he doesn't apply to us.
Yeah.
You know,
We're not Americans.
no, and you know whatever happens. Yes, in a sense, it doesn't really apply to us, but at the same time, he's what they say, the leader of the free world. Like everyone still listens to what the president of the United States says. It's an important role.
He still has some power.
Yeah, regardless of how most of the world feels about him now.
Yeah. I can say that because I watch a lot of Western media. I used to hate Trump.
Yep.
You know, like everything you see about him would be like, oh, he's
There's
racist.
a common theme in our friend group, I would say.
Yeah, it's split the group basically.
Yeah.
But the more I look into Trump, you know, I get the sense of how he is beloved actually by his people, because he's not from the political background.
Right.
He's like a businessman.
Yep.
But he's a very outspoken businessman who speaks to his truth. Like whatever he thinks is right, he says it.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people can see solace, or they can see some relatability in Trump. Even though Trump is like, it's like the 1%, right? And his followers are basically like I don't know if I would offend people, but a lot of his followers are the poor whites.
Okay.
So there's the only thing that links them is basically their disapproval of the system.
Okay.
And that is why, like, whenever Trump would say how the system is rigged or whatever, people believe him because he lived through that system. He was a part of the system.
Right.
And people see him as being honest.
Right.
So that's why I can say 50% of Americans actually do support Trump.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they think he's the savior or whatever.
Yeah. Like I mean, in terms of that, you can see, like, obviously I'm not an American, so I don't know for real, but it seems like he's doing service, like he's doing it for the service of it. You know, like if you put everything aside, all the shit aside, what the media on both sides says about him, the ones that support him and the ones that don't. If you put all that aside and you look at what he says, and what he says is his motivation for still being, like, I mean, you think about it. A guy, you've already become president once, president, prime minister, the top guy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you've already become once. you ran again, you lost, and nobody will run again the third time. If you lost the second time, that's done.
Yeah.
You're not running again. No one wants to see you again.
Yeah.
Look at people like Ross Perot. Like, nobody even knows that name anymore. You know?
I almost forgot that name.
Yeah. Nobody knows that name anymore. And it's simply because of things like that. And for me, it's like when he talks about why he's running, especially after he got shot.
Yeah.
Okay, especially after he got shot.
Yeah, we'll talk
he
about
kept
this.
saying that, do you think I want to be here? Even during the debates.
The first debate or
the debate with Joe Biden.
Okay.
The debate with Joe Biden. He said it himself. Do you think I want to be here? Do you think, like in numerous interviews, he's always said, do you think I want to be here? Do you think this is the best use of my time and my resources? Like, it takes hundreds of millions of dollars, American dollars, just to run a presidential campaign.
That's true.
That's true. And he's not the guy that has big backers, like multi-billionaire backers. No, he's not that guy. He's never been that guy. He doesn't have the institutional support of the banks. He doesn't have the institutional support of the bureaucracy. He doesn't have all that. Everything that he's done is from his own resources, from the possible or probable inheritance of his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, and he's used that all. And you think, if you ask me, I don't think that is, like he says, an efficient use of your resources. Why? Just to be top dog for the next 4 years? Why? So, to me, it seems like, if you think about it properly and you put aside the bullshit and you look at it, like, this guy is doing it because he feels he has to.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is why he actually resonates. Why he's so relatable with the grassroots, with the poorer whites. I wouldn't say they're the poor whites, but they're the poorer whites.
Yeah.
Because the rich whites are always, Democrat.
Yeah,
They're always liberal leaning. Like,
I
unless you're involved in the casino business, you're not really to the right.
I mean, like a lot of billionaires nowadays, they appear to be more left leaning because I think that's the how the young people it's cool now to be like a Democrat or whatever.
Okay.
And I think I'm not saying that they are not democratic or whatever, but they want to appear democratic so that they appear more relatable to the young people.
I would say that it's always been that way. You go back to the 70s, the 60s, the 50s. Yeah, it was always been that way. It's always been that the young people are the liberals. They'll always be that way. Because young people have this thing called, like, when you're young, when you're in your early 20s, you're so impressionable.
That's true.
You're like, everyone is making a huge impression on you. Like, every single unique point of view that you hear is suddenly a point of view that you want to adopt. Especially when you're 21, when you're 22.
Yeah.
You just want to have that unique mindset that can show off to the world, like, oh, I'm intelligent. And unfortunately or fortunately, that's how you get to young people being liberals. Because young people are never taken seriously.
That's true.
I'm fucking 32. I'm not taken seriously yet.
Yeah.
By most people.
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is. You get there one day, but that's how it is. That's just how life is.
So you were saying about how Trump doesn't have a lot of billionaire backers.
Yeah,
or
so he's
millionaire.
been doing it himself. And if you ask me, that is like I've been alluding to, you use those resources, and that money is not coming back. It's not a business. The president of the United States earns like what, 250,000 USD a year.
That's
about his salary. So you're not getting that back in your 4 years. You're not getting back the $500 million you spent on your campaign in your 4 years as president. So no. And even the first time around, you think about this, of all the things they tried to put on him and all the things they tried to convict him of in the States, corruption is none of them. You think about that.
No.
Has he been convicted? I'm not talking about indicted. He can be indicted but not convicted.
Okay.
He was convicted of Eugene Carroll, correct? Right? Eugene Carroll, the writer that he supposedly sexually assaulted,
Okay.
Right? The judge found him liable for that. Okay, fine. But not about corruption. And you cannot say that about any of the other presidents that came before him.
You're right.
Every single president has a tie to some sort of corrupt business that happened under their time, whether they're directly or indirectly involved, whatever. You know, like Joe and his son. We don't know about that. Bush and Cheney. I mean, Cheney was the head of Halliburton when he was vice president of the United States.
Dodgy.
To say the least. You know? Yeah. So, but Trump, you don't have those kind of scandals about him. You have Russia collusion. Like, there's a Russian trying to play our president like a puppet. You know? Things like that. But there's no evidence of money changing hands when it's not supposed to. Unless it's out of his hands into a porn star's hands. This is a different story.
Okay, that's a different story. Yeah. But I think maybe it's not come out to light yet about some of the
maybe, but after everything that he's been put through, you think they haven't gone through his life with a fine-tooth comb?
Okay, I have a question for you before I start my monologue. Do you think Trump was serious the first time he ran for president against who is it? Hillary. Because
serious at what point? Serious at what point?
Okay. When he first announced that he was running for the presidency, no one took him seriously.
When he came down
the escalator, slowly and then just waving to everyone. No one took him seriously. Okay. Even like Republicans, they were like,
no. He was an independent at the time. He was not a Republican nor a Democrat.
Yeah, and people were bashing him so much at that point already.
Yep.
But this is one thing I respect about him. He can be whatever you say he's misogynist or capitalist or whatever. But I like that he is true to himself. Like even if you watch interviews from 20-30 years ago, he still talks the same. What he says is pretty much the same messages. He hates the
swamp.
The swamp, basically. He wants to change it. Like he's been disappointed in American politics for a while. So do a lot of Americans, I think. But what do you think of the effect of Trump being president since?
Okay, I'm going to have a quite an unpopular take here, especially amongst the Trump supporters.
Oh, even amongst the Trump, okay.
Especially amongst the Trump supporters.
Okay.
I feel like he's not going to make much of a difference in terms of draining the swamp that he wants to do. Like remove all the not technocrats. He wants to remove all the bureaucrats from government and try to instill terms. And then he wants to remove all the corrupt congressmen and senators, and he wants people to elect new ones and all that. Like, to me, that is the most idealistic part of his campaign. And people who believe it, I think, are slightly foolish to believe that. Simply because it's not possible.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. Like, you can love him for his rhetoric. You can hate him for his rhetoric. You can love him for how he carries himself. You can hate him for how he carries himself. But if you want to talk about policies, his policies that were able to be implemented in his first term, most of them were actually really good policies. Obviously until COVID came along, but that's a different story. Up until then, the US economy, even the world economy, was actually doing its best since 2008. So we were at our peak at that time.
Okay, so all right. Economically, like, Trump did well during his presidency. But what do you think changed the public opinion of Trump, especially like during his election with Joe Biden? Why do you think he lost that?
COVID. His handling of the COVID lah, not COVID itself, but his handling of the pandemic,
of the situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
He should have. I don't know. I'm not a health expert. I listen to a lot of things, but there were a lot of things that he could have done differently.
Yeah, I don't think it helps that he went on multiple interviews or press conferences with no idea what he was gonna say, and you know how he is. He would just make up stuff in the moment. I remember there's this one interview where he was literally asking like one of the World Health. Do you know WHO?
Yeah,
one of the staff from WHO. He was literally asking her during the interview, like, do you think we can get rid of coronavirus by like injecting some of this bleach inside our skin?
Back then.
And
really?
I'm like, yeah, it's true. You can look for it on YouTube. I'm like, Okay, first of all, it's funny.
Yeah. Okay. He's inserting bleach in
Yeah,
himself.
and then he was serious about it too. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
can
yeah.
we actually like? And then the poor lady was like, what? And then he was doing it in front of cameras and stuff,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
people were bashing him for it. And I think like why I'm asking you that is because like this is one story of a bigger problem where I think this is the case in Trump's presidency. He would always deny whatever it is, whatever the story is, when it comes to if the story paints him in a bad light.
Okay.
He would always deny that. For example, recently, I don't know if you watched, but Trump went to the Black Journalist Association, National
Association of Black Journalists,
yes,
NABJ.
that's right. Yeah. And he was asked a tough question. I think you've
Which is which question? The first question.
The first question. He was asked a first question, and this is his response to almost every question that was directed to him in an I wouldn't say friendly manner lah.
Okay.
They're pretty much attacking him. So they were asking him about, these are all the things you've said about black people and stuff like that.
Okay.
Why do you think black people should vote for you after saying all these things?
Uh-huh.
And then this is what he always does. He would deny, and then he would just say, "That's such a disrespectful question. I can't believe you just answer. You just asked me that question," and this actually creates a mentality for his supporters that whatever he says is true, and whatever people say, whenever people talk shit about him, it's not true, which is, I think, harmful. Because because in that way, in that sense, you're not allowed to be criticized at all. Like anytime you f***ed up, people will be like, "Oh, fake news." That's what he used to say a lot. Fake news. And
But
it would just like disregard whatever
But it doesn't stop the criticism from being said. Understand that? Like most people, like even me, like as someone who leans towards supporting Trump more than I would support Joe Biden, Kamala, or whoever it is on the left. Okay, is that he flies off the cuff. He does it. He does it on his own, and that kind of relatability, is not easy to get. Kamala Harris hasn't done a single interview since being nominated, because she was never nominated officially for President of the United States.
Speaking of,
dude, I'm all for having a woman president, though. But not Kamala Harris, man.
a lot of people are excited about Kamala Harris, who possibly might be the first woman to obtain such a high-ranking position in the US government, right? But I think a lot of people have forgotten that Monica Lewinsky was directly under Bill Clinton,
Yeah. So was Hillary. So was Hillary.
Okay, you have anything more to say about this?
No, like I said, I would never be. I'm not on the side, because you see, I think this, is going to be the perfect segue to where you want to get. Okay, and the reason why I don't like the Joe Bidens, the Kamala Harrises of the world is the warmongering. Like, I'm not saying that war shouldn't happen. There have been times in history that war has been absolutely necessary in order to procure the freedom of your people, that kind of thing. But the forever wars, the never-ending wars in the Middle East, the ones where other people come in because they want your resources.
So this is what you mean by warmongering by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
Yeah, like you don't need to be there. You don't need to be in the Middle East. You have tons of oil of your own.
Yeah,
that's one.
Okay,
but that's the thing. The fact that these people like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they say they want, like, a new green world, a new sustainable world. But whether or not that is possible, that's a different story. my contention with it is simply that these people do not care for that. They want to get rich. Their way to get rich is politics, which should never be the case. Politics is national service. It's always been national service. Only up until what? The 1940s? As it pertains to the US, where it's become a thing where people enrich themselves through politics. It was not done before. It was never done before.
It's done through warmongering.
One of them, well, at least nowadays, that's the most efficient way to garner money through politics.
You're right.
Say you support Boeing. Say you support Lockheed Martin. Say you support Schlumberger. Say you support Halliburton. And then, like, dude, you do presidency for 8 years. After you leave 8 years, you'll be called to do speeches at Schlumberger for $250,000 per speech, saying God knows what. Like, what does Hillary Clinton have to say to a bunch of electrical and chemical engineers that they don't know or they have not already heard on their own?
Okay, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I agree with you on the warmongering part for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because that's what they've been doing, in the Middle East. But what do you think would happen if Trump was in power right now, and if Trump was the president right now, and the Israel-Palestine issue is still going on? How do you think Trump would resolve that, or how do you think he would handle that?
Well, he said that he's going to end the hostilities on day one.
How?
And if you've noticed, during his first term, there was not a single major attack from Hamas onto Israel or Israel onto Hamas. Either way, there were no major conflicts. In fact, during his first term, and these people don't give him enough credit for this, he should have won the Nobel Peace Prize for this, but he made Saudi, Iran, and Israel sign the Abraham Accords.
You're right.
Yeah.
When they were holding the globe, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And that's never been done. And it was never done by a US president.
Yeah, and actually people bash him for that.
Because that's the reason why they want to remove him. You do that. If you have peace in the Middle East, there's what? 40 billion US of free cash flow every fucking year for nothing. Gone. Because why? Because Trump wants peace in the Middle East. No one, you think anyone cares? In the higher ups of Washington, okay? In the higher ups of, not even Washington, you look at any country, any government, you think anyone cares about rhetoric? Rhetoric is simply a medium of optics.
No, people care about rhetoric if it aligns with their beliefs.
No, they don't. Unfortunately, no, they don't. They will say that to get elected. Don't get me wrong. They'll say that to get elected. They will pump it to the top of their lungs just to get elected. But do you think they believe it? No. None of them do.
Yeah.
All they believe is money.
Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing now. That is where the rubber meets the road. That is where you can see that you don't have a choice. Especially when you look at the Americans, you don't have a choice. Your only choice is Trump.
It's either
He's
Trump
not beholden.
Yeah.
He's not beholden. Whatever you want to say about him, he's a misogynist, he's a rapist, he's sexual assaulter, whatever. He's not beholden to anyone. And that's why they wanted to remove him. Because there is so much money gone. So much money that you think that 30-40 billion that goes into the American public system? No, it doesn't.
You know why I think the whole Nobel Peace Prize is a lot of bullshit?
Why?
Is because when Obama was president, he dropped the most bombs in Syria over the last, 20 years or something like that.
And he got the Nobel Peace Prize before he even got wet. I remember that. I think it was like halfway through his first year, and he got the Nobel Peace Prize. Why? For being black? Come on, man. That ain't right. That ain't right. Come on. You gotta be truthful. Shit, that ain't right.
Yeah. I think there's something there. There's something going on there. Okay.
But the dude was smart. He was intelligent.
He is super charismatic.
Yeah,
man,
super
Obama.
charismatic.
Super charismatic.
Like he's overplayed his hand in Washington by being like the invisible hand guy. You know?
What do you mean?
Like that's what he does now. The
yeah.
Party
Right now.
Yeah. In his image.
Yeah.
You know, so I think he's overplayed his hand doing that lah. But other than that, he was a great president.
He was a great
other
president.
than the thousands of bombs he dropped in Syria.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I think he was a good change, I think, for America.
Because, you know, other than not closing Guantanamo Bay, you know.
Yeah.
Other than having Hillary Clinton as a Secretary of State and pissing off Russia, the worst that anybody has, he's been a great president.
Yeah.
Other than stoking racial divide in your country.
Barack Obama.
Oh, Barack Obama? Oh, no, he didn't.
I mean, all the presidents.
The first black man ever, you know, to be president.
I think that wasn't his intention. That he just happens to be a black president. You know, he just happens to be
Indonesian president.
A black, you're right. A black Indonesian president. He just happens to be a black Indonesian president.
So what?
No,
doesn't matter.
No,
he was smart.
people have a problem with that. It's not that he has a problem with white people. Because he's technically half white, half Indonesian, half black, or whatever.
He played to his black side a lot.
He does play.
He was the reason for identity politics.
Yeah,
you can't deny that.
You know,
and then Hillary took it to another level lah.
You know how I know Obama is actually racist? How he would? I don't know if you've seen. I think he congratulated I forgot which basketball team it was, but basically he congratulated a team. Every time he went to a black player, he would like dap them up. Have you seen like this Key and Peele sketch? Okay. Okay, one of our producers have watched it.
So I'm not a big fan of Key and Peele, but I got my own reasons for that.
Okay. So basically the sketch goes, and it's actually about Obama lah. It's a sketch about Obama, where he would meet a black guy, or like maybe even a quarter black, or like 10% black.
Okay.
He would just be like, "Oh, what's up, my brother?" Or, you know, like dap them up, like you know, the black handshake.
Yeah.
I hope I don't offend anybody with that. But then he would go to the white people. He'll be like, "Good evening. How are you?
Sir.
Good evening, sir.
How are you?
How good evening?" And then he would go to a black guy and be like, "Yo, my brother." You know, that's how I know Obama is racist.
Yeah, but I mean, Kamala Harris puts on a southern accent when she goes to the south.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. So does Hillary. That's how it is, though.
They're pandering, lah.
All of them pander, though.
They're
Pandering is their favorite pastime, though.
All the politicians.
All of them. It's how you get elected, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. So that's like our warm up, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So we wanna. Okay. I think I'll start getting into my short monologue, even though it's supposed to be at the start, right?
Yeah.
But we're having so much fun bashing Trump and Obama. But okay, so since it's our first episode, we thought we'd start with something light. So we're gonna start.
That was light.
That was light.
That was light.
Yeah, that was super light.
So
right?
light. Yeah.
So another light topic we're gonna talk about is Palestine and Israel.
Oh.
Super light, right?
Very light.
You know, we've all seen the horrifying images coming out of Palestine. You know, when October 7th happened, you know, news of it spread like wildfire. You know, the news was shown over the world. The headline says, you know, Hamas beheaded babies, raped women and stuff like that, which was also shared in detail by the US President, Joe Biden. And it turns out later that most of it, or maybe all of it, has been fabricated.
The Hamas raping
and
putting the
beheading
babies in the ovens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all fabricated.
Yeah. Even if I'm not mistaken, the Israelis admitted it recently.
Okay, I'll get into that. I'll get into that. And when it first came out, October 7th happened, and then 8th of October, Joe Biden shared in detail about this incident, like how he's saying like Hamas did all this. And you know, it's sad, or maybe it's terrible that, you know, a world leader such as Joe Biden is perpetuating these lies, basically, and people all over the news, especially Western media, like show it all over again, and people tend to believe it when they've seen it enough, right? And you know, but Joe Biden, this is the same guy who dropped out of the 24 election race against Donald Trump, you know.
Yep.
And I have a hard time listening to Joe Biden now because, you know, Joe Biden is like a web browser with 20 tabs open, you know, and it's not even Google Chrome or Safari, it's Internet Explorer. And, you know, out of the 20 tabs that are open, 17 tabs are frozen, and he doesn't even know where the music is coming from. So that's Joe Biden, basically. I want to ask you a questions, basically. What do you think is the difference between a Joe Biden speech and a Trump speech?
The teleprompter?
You're saying that Trump doesn't use a teleprompter?
Well, he does, but he goes off it a lot.
Yeah. Right. No, the answer is it's a joke. The answer is when Biden is speaking, you wonder if he's having a stroke. Yeah. But when Trump is speaking, you wonder if you're having a stroke.
Yeah. A lot of the time, yes, I agree with that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say, basically, you know, how the whole situation in Israel and Palestine has been exacerbated by the US interference in Israel and Gaza. Because how do you know how much the US have been giving money to Israel?
Like since October 7th? Or?
Since October 7th?
Probably in the billions.
I think it's something like 30 billion a year or something like that.
Shit.
Yeah. And it's an average of like maybe 100 or 200 million of dollars worth of bombs dropped on kids.
Yep.
So, you know, what do you think about this whole situation?
It's tough. It's tough to talk about it because for me, I don't have intimate knowledge or an intimate relationship to anyone that has the connection to Palestine or Israel. I do say that whenever kids, women are being killed, it's a travesty. It's not supposed to happen in such a widespread manner.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about it. In terms of how, like, I know, like, you're supposed to condemn the people that do it and all that, but it's hard to do that because for me, when you condemn someone, you're being compassionate to another party. And in the same way that if you're being compassionate to one party, you're being condemning to the other party.
Yeah.
You know? So my point of view is that it shouldn't happen. It's completely unnecessary. And from my education, I feel like there are numerous ways to solve the conflict. Is that no one wants to put the necessary resources into solving the conflict. Like, they would have spent far less than the money they spent on bombs if they had used those resources, that money, to figuring out a proper solution to the whole Palestine-Israel
Instead
conflict.
of giving more bombs and ammunition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, but that goes back to the military-industrial complex that I was talking about. Like, you want to keep that cash flow going. It's a cash cow. More bombs equals more money. More guns equals more money. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality of life we live in.
Yeah, and I think about the situation is that most of the world, I think, wants to see a ceasefire, and most of the world have voted.
On a surface level, I think you're right, but not really. If you, I'm talking on a macro level. I'm not talking about human beings. I'm talking about the governments.
Yeah.
You know, the nations.
The people in power.
People like, you know, like Saudi Arabia, UAE. They all have the power to stop this from happening. They have the power to stop it from happening tomorrow. But they don't do it.
Because?
It's not on me to say.
And I would just like to say that we would never ourselves, okay?
Yeah. Let's start with that.
Yeah, we would never ourselves.
But let's be honest about it. They are the people closest to it. Like, like, people talk a lot about the Shia world of Muslims and the Sunni world of Muslims that we belong to. Okay? And there's a lot of talk, especially in the Sunni world, which is the majority of Muslim. where we talk about how the Shia ni sometimes are not really in the proper proper teachings of Islam and all that.
They say serong.
Things like that. I don't want to say that because I am not an Islamic scholar myself, so I don't want to put labels on people that they don't deserve.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of condemnation, especially from the Sunni world towards the Shia world. Whereas maybe because they're smaller in numbers, the Shia world doesn't really feel that way about us. They want to just practice their own shit, you know? So, but when you look at it, my point is that when you look at it now, when the Sunni world is going through something, the rest of the Sunni world is not helping. Have we sent our troops to Palestine?
No.
Nope. Has Saudi sent their troops to Palestine? Nope. Who has? Who has been fighting on the behalf of the Palestinians?
The
Iranians.
The terrorists.
The Iranians.
Yeah.
You think about it,
Yeah.
Hezbollah
Hezbollah.
is being funded by the Iranians. Hamas funded by Iranians.
Yeah.
You know? So narrative is narrative, rhetoric is rhetoric, but when you boil down, you put aside all the shit and you see what's real and what's not.
How much do you think this whole situation has been made worse by US? Because, okay, I'll give you an example. Because I think in a recent United Nations meeting, they all had to vote on whether or not to give a ceasefire or not, to implement a ceasefire in Israel and Palestine.
Okay.
Most of the countries voted yes to a ceasefire.
Okay.
Guess which two countries didn't agree?
The US and Israel?
You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
You're right. So how much do you think this...
Dude, you don't get elected. You cannot be elected as the US President of the United States without
being friends to the Jewish...
Without the Jewish lobby endorsing you. That's never happened. Probably since Kennedy. It hasn't happened since Kennedy.
So you're saying AIPAC has been around since Kennedy?
Maybe
since after Kennedy?
Maybe not AIPAC in its current form, but some form of Jewish lobby has been there since Kennedy. You know? So, yeah. Like, that tells you everything that you need to know.
Yeah.
That's the reason why.
Yeah. And
even if they call a ceasefire, which there have been numerous ceasefires in the past, before October 7, there's nothing stopping them from starting things up again. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You want to tell me that Mossad, the most prestigious intelligence community in the world, better than the CIA, better than the French?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Supposedly,
Okay.
that's the reputation at least.
Yeah.
Better than French. French is supposedly the best intelligence gatherers in the world. Okay? The French.
Okay.
But they did not know October 7 was going to happen. From a bunch of hillbilly Arabs that were carrying RPGs, and they didn't know that was going to happen. Are you f***ing kidding me?
Oh my God.
That's not true, dude. That cannot be true. That cannot be true.
Oh my God.
That cannot be true. So no, if the world, if you want to call it conspiracy theories, whatever it is, but it's just not possible.
Without a Jewish...
This is not possible.
Okay. Okay. We talked about Israel and Palestine and US interference in the country. Where else has the United States have been like you know what I mean, like tampering with other countries' elections?
I think it'd be easier to name a country they have not tampered in than they have.
Okay, let's talk about Malaysia then. We'll start with Malaysia since we're from Malaysia. Okay, so we wanted to talk something about a topic about Cambridge Analytica, but I think it's a bit too long for that. Perhaps in the future we'll talk about that.
I don't think we have enough time for that.
Okay, but maybe you can explain in brief detail about the whole Najib election in 2016 and how the US is connected to it.
Okay, yeah. So Cambridge Analytica is basically a data gathering company. I don't know if they're still around. I don't think they are. But I don't think they are. But they were around back then in 2016, and they were one of the most prominent data gathering, like data that you get from cell phones. They used to gather that, and they basically sold whatever data that anybody wanted for a price, you know. And one thing that was I saw this in a Netflix documentary, ironically, but it was
Is it the Jolo?
No. It was nothing to do with Jolo.
Okay.
I think at the time it was just something that Datuk Sri Najib did to secure a win in the election, which was he bought voter data up from this Cambridge Analytica. They were working together for like a long time. I think like 2-3 years prior to the election, in order to streamline. Like they did a lot of nefarious shit lah. Like one of the things, like they opened certain voting centers at certain times because they knew that at that time it was gonna rain. You know, so that people will not come out and vote and line up. Shit like that lah. You know, nefarious shit like that. So
Wow.
yeah, and they targeted these certain places using the voter data that was provided to them by Cambridge Analytica.
So it's mostly like social media
Engineering, yeah,
engineering.
for them sure, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So-
like we don't really have anyone to blame because like we did that to ourselves. Everyone here has a phone, you know.
But how much of the US interference did lead to Najib's downfall, I guess?
We will never know, dude. Like I
Yeah,
mean,
because back then-
they
I-
interfered in the sense of, you know, their DOJ had the whole investigation out
Yeah,
and all that, and
For 1 MBB. Yeah.
So that was in itself, if you want to call that interference, but he broke their laws as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm not surprised when, you know, we talk about like the US infiltrating other countries' election, because it's happened a lot of times before. Like you said, it's easier to name a country which they haven't interfered.
yeah.
I'm like wondering, other than the Najib case, is there any other instances where the US, especially in Malaysia, that they interfered?
I know of one that comes to mind, but I don't think I should say it on the first podcast because that one is really, really bad. But
we were talking about like Israel and Palestine and how the US has been interfering in a lot of these countries. Have you heard about what happened to Venezuela recently?
yeah, the crash.
No. The Prime Minister was recently elected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how there are protests all over the country.
Okay.
And when the result was,
Is he a right guy or a left guy?
the US
He's
hates
liberal,
him.
conservative?
The US hates him. Which one do you think?
The current US administration hates him?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's probably right. He's very conservative.
People would argue that he's left.
Okay.
But there have been unrest in that country, basically, because since the announcement has been released,
Yeah.
even the US Secretary of State was saying about the election results how it might not be legit 100%.
Right.
Okay, and this is another example.
This is Anthony Blinken.
Anthony Blinken, you're right. I even forgot that motherfucker's name. And this is, I think,
Yeah, I don't really listen to him and what he says. So okay, continue.
Yeah. So my point is, how much do you think of the Venezuelan results were
Dude, if you
influenced?
think they meddle in our elections, when it comes to South America, they meddle in every single election. That's all they do. And if I were them, I had their resources, this is what I would do. I mean, you want to be safe, right?
Yeah.
The US, like, you know, this whole like interventionist thing has only been going on for like the past 40, 50, 60 years. Probably since Kennedy died. But besides that, even Kennedy was a non-interventionist. He was pretty much an isolationist. He did not want to go into Cuba. He did not want to disturb Fidel Castro. He didn't want to do any of that.
That's why they killed him.
That's why they killed him.
Yeah.
And that's what his generals wanted. For damn sure. Yeah. It's all about the military industrial complex. It's because after World War II, everyone realized that there's so much money in war.
Yeah.
World War II was it?
And I feel sorry about for some of these people that try to do the right things. I think like Kennedy or perhaps Lincoln, they try to do the right things, but because of human nature and the people around them, they get assassinated.
Yeah.
You know, I like to think that good people who try to do good things would be assassinated early or would be targeted at least because, you know, people want to reserve the status quo or, you know, they want to stay rich and stuff like that. So which is why I think the whole stuff in Israel-Palestine is tragic because it could have been avoided had humans were a lot nicer, I guess. I just think that, you know, if the US had elected Bernie Sanders, do you think the whole Israel-Palestine thing would have happened?
Yep.
Still?
Yep.
Why?
And any Democrat in party, that shit would have happened.
No, it's because I think Bernie Sanders is one of these people like Kennedy or like Lincoln that genuinely try to do good things. And I mean, of course, I'm a leftist, so of course I'm a Bernie guy. But this is why they never allowed him to go against Trump in 2016.
You want to know something about Bernie Sanders?
Hold on. Okay. This is why they never allowed him to run against Trump because he's like the complete opposite of Trump.
Okay.
Like, Trump is about...
I agree that.
he's the complete opposite of Trump.
That, yeah.
And this is why I'll never like Hillary Clinton, is because she took that opportunity from Bernie Sanders when if Trump had debated Bernie, I think Bernie would have mobbed him.
Not in the States. If you're talking about 1992, 1988, Soviet era Russia,
I think Bernie relates more to the people than Trump.
He's too okay. Before you get there, because you just said the word relate to the people. Okay. Here's something you might want to know about the hero Bernie Sanders.
Sure.
He likes to claim that he doesn't fly first class.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
He does that, right? Okay. But what he does do is he buys the first row after first class. You know?
Technically not first class.
Okay, fine. Alright. So much for the extra leg room, right? It's okay. Yeah, but no, I mean, I love how idealistic you still are.
Yeah,
I think for the purposes of the success of this show, I think you need to be.
That's right.
But nah, he wouldn't have done that. Trump was an overpowering force. And Bernie never had the following that Trump has. If he did, there would have been riots after what Hillary did to him. If he did have that following.
No, I think this is why Bernie is unlike Trump. If Bernie was Trump and Bernie lost to Hillary Clinton, he would have immediately said it was fake news. Or he would have immediately said, oh, they rigged the system against us.
Okay.
Because that's what Trump did right after he lost.
But he did sort of rig it. Elon Musk proved it.
How so?
The Hunter Biden laptop story?
Okay, that's one thing.
Okay. And all of the mentions of all the negative mentions of Democrats on Twitter that had to be scrubbed prior to the election.
Why?
I
didn't know about that.
Yeah, because dude, it was in the Twitter files. The one that Matt Taibbi brought out.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that when Elon Musk just bought Twitter. Right? And then
he released
he gave all the files to Matt Taibbi and I can't remember her name now. She's very wise. Both very prominent journalists. And he gave them everything and he was like, sort through it and expose what you need to expose. And they came out with it. Yeah. They couldn't even post all of it on like Barry Weiss wrote for the New York Times and the New York Times wouldn't even write anything about it. They had to publish everything on Substack. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think we're coming towards the end of our podcast because it's more than more than we bargained.
I told you, nigga. I told you, man. I told you.
Okay, but before we close this our first session, do you have anything to say?
Nah, it was a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
I hope we just get to do it some more.
Yeah, you done?
Yeah.
Okay, I would just like to say to any of our audience members, our directive or our point is not to radicalize any of you. We just want Malaysians or anyone interested in the news to learn more about what they think is happening and to make an educated guess from what you learn from. So you don't have to listen to us. Who are we? We just a bunch of guys talking about.
That's
shit.
the whole point. Don't listen to anyone. Don't live in the bubble.
Yeah. So I think that's it from us. Thank you for listening to our first ever show, our podcast first show, and we hope to see you again for the next one.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Let's go.